Hello, Skeeter Nation. It's time to get this STAAR procedural training underway. Once you complete this training, watching the video, reading over the materials, you can submit your verification form, and that will conclude your training for the 24-25 school year. We can all celebrate that. And today also marks the end of TELPAS. I am also celebrating that for this school year. Let's get started. Training never takes the place of reading the manual. Manuals have been available to you since the fall. There's an online link, and if you would like a paper copy, please make sure to see Miss Gary. You can email her or stop by the office in L Hall. Here, we've already kind of discussed these dates. I'll be sharing rosters and stuff will be available the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. For the tests as follows, we have 4 testing days that we will test 5 tests. I'll send out emails to families and kids in Skyward on Friday the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th. This is a folder you can go to view all of our materials for today. It has everything we need, everything you might want to look over, and a lot of this is going to be embedded in our training today. All right, let's talk about ways we can prevent irregularities. We can have proper training that we have taken hold of and that we've done our research and we've paid attention and done all the things. And here's some just things that you can do. So remember, adhere to the information on your roster and provided accommodations. If a kid asks, Miss, I'm supposed to have the computer read to me, or Coach, can you help? My teacher told me if a student asks about an accommodation and it doesn't seem to appear, contact the testing office before the student signs into the secure testing browser app. Create accurate seating charts. There's a link to our seating chart. There are instructions here. There's a lot that we communicate on the morning of, but you can look ahead on these things. Look at all the things that ask you to fill out. The test administrators, anybody that comes in the room and takes over as the person of record is a testing administrator. So if you're an assist and you go in and give a break, you need to sign all the things, the room logs. You need to come in here and make sure that you are saying you're an administrator. Look over, make sure the documentation's there the moment you walk in the room. Everybody's partnering together because it's a lot of things to do. It tells you what to write down. There is a start time for the test, the time we stop for lunch, the time we resume after lunch, and the stop time is the time your final student finishes or has moved to relocate to finish somewhere else. All right, follow your checklist. Your checklist. It is probably 4 or 5 slides worth of information that we're going to look at here in a little bit. Here's a preview. Don't say we didn't warn you. It's all here, and I promise. I promise. If you will go through and truly, there's not enough room on these things to create a little box that you actually can check. But if you will go through, if you're the person in the room, being the test administrator, your assist will have copies of these so they can also help. But make sure that you're checking off those bullet points. Hey, I really read through this and I did this day. It's going to keep us all on the same page. It's going to keep you from forgetting things. Everything will be in place as it should be. Also, we sometimes rush through looking at this that morning, but here's previews. I went backwards. Sorry. Hang on a minute. Your training rosters. This is what your rosters kind of look like. Yes, I blacked out information. But here at the bottom, the total students assigned to the room is the total that appears right here. If I had to write somebody in, then I would put a number there. The total for this room would be 17. However many students are absent, how many are relocated, the total tested. This is also the total tested that you're returning tickets. So this will probably be revised on your actual one. This is an old one that I just ran a copy yesterday. Make sure that that's your total of documents that you're turning in. Make sure to sign and date it. All of those things happen before you come. Notice right here, people are always going, well, it didn't say. Yes, it says it in your checklist, but it's also right here, time submitted, the start time of your room, time submitted. You will fill that out. This is where the only time that the testing administrator will actually take attendance, they will do it on this paper. So when you're ready to start, you go find your tickets that are still left that nobody is representing that ticket in the room. Just kind of sketch an absent with a pencil over here. Hand those tickets to your assist. They will mark it online. They will mark it online. Testing administrators are not marking online. It frees you up to actively monitor and keeps you off the computer. Also, this is what the start stop looks like. Notice this says this is for all rooms, but you will only use this for the students that require a later start time from the room, or for students who are removed and returned from a testing environment for a special circumstance. For example, if they have to be escorted to the clinic, which yes, anybody has to go to the clinic, they have to be escorted there and back. Just remember that. This is not for if a person leaves without permission and doesn't return. That is a problem, and I've got to be contacted immediately. They can't, if they just leave on their own accord, they don't get to come back and finish. There's things in place for that. You don't have to do this to document restroom when people go. This is truly if an adult comes and escorts a kid out, or if a student starts late. That's what this paper is for, and everyone has them in their room. Okay, and training accommodations. Some of you will have these. In a regular room, if it can take place in there, text-to-speech, kids are going to be in a room together. For English, supplemental aid kids will be in a room together because English supplemental aids can't be used the entire time the way it was designed. Basic calculator, if that's on for, if that still stays on there for biology or for Algebra 1, well, that's already embedded for everybody. So they could just be in a regular room. Content and language, they can be in a regular room. The bottom line is everything that is on here, supplemental aids, has to be put in place. This is a sample sheet. It is specified according to the individual student needs, and it's been documented in 504, LPAC, or ARD meetings. We have to be in compliance and provide what by law has been put in place. All right, so you're going to provide materials. You're going to verify students have recorded the responses where they submit. That's why we ask them to raise their hand. You're actively monitoring. You're counting for all your materials, all the things. You verify identity of each student. There's 2 places, I think, at least 2. When they come in, you direct them to their seat. You tell them to check the information on their ticket, and later on in the checklist, it also says, hey, make sure this is you. We have several students with the same name. The birthday is what helps identify them even better on the state test tickets because they don't have their 9 numbers on them. And then again, check online tests for completion before a student submits. You cannot go in there and you can look at the screen and see that they've submitted. If they ask you a question about a question, you just get to say do the best you can. We cannot violate that, but we are requiring kids test for an hour and a half before submitting. All right, make sure your room is ready. This is everybody. Everybody needs to make sure their room is ready. We could move at any point to any room. There's several times we've had to change a whole class that is testing to another room for various reasons. And we need 25 to 28 desks facing the same direction. I'm going to tell you, I try to stick with 25 in a testing room, period. But I say that, and then what if somebody comes in and I don't have any other spot? I can get up to 30 in a room per the guidelines. The 30 to 1 is the requirement. So we're going to be fine. But in L Hall, please listen to me. There are 30 desks that are assigned to your room. If you will take these 6 desks and create a long table with them, and if you need help with that, let me know. But there's some odd shapes that it makes it easy if you'll put it next to the teacher desk, those 6, then it's easier to put out 25 desks spaced apart well in rows. Just saying. If you need help, see Allie or I, ask your neighbor. Make sure it happens. This right here, you remember you've got to cover, if it helps, Cinder, on U.S. history, English, biology, or Algebra 1. It's got to be covered. For the most part, we're going to use LHAL for testing, but on the 15th, when we test for, when we test biology and U.S. history, there's like 1,000 kids testing that day on rosters. We will not be able to do all that just in L. I can tell you we will probably use lower A and probably lower A, possibly lower C, and we may have to bleed into upper C for testing areas. Okay? Start communicating with your kids. Here's when the time's going out in Skyward. We've already talked about that. All students will be in their assigned location until an announcement is made to resume regular schedule. Don't give passes to people to leave your room. No one leaves. And when they go to the restroom in non-testing rooms, when they go to the restroom or clinic, any of it, it's one person out at a time. We've got to keep everybody contained and on task as best we can, doing the things they need to do. They could be working in Google Classrooms. Make sure that you have those updated. Maybe even have an alternate assignment they could do so that we could have them working on something if they can't figure that out on their own. If you're in a non-testing room, have something in your back pocket that they can stay busy with. All right, students with early release on their schedule will be released when announcement is made to go to the last period. That is where we are. Okay, now notice this sentence. If by some crazy chance we are unable to go to the last period, instructions will be given at that time. But start telling kids now, CTE buses do not run on these days. We've been communicating that, but just a reminder. Remind kids to bring their Chromebooks, bring their chargers, and all STAAR tests take place online, just as a reminder. These are things that you are holding until they're finished. This is just some important preview information that you already know that we're going over again. Hold their phones, AirPods, smartwatches, and all other electronic devices in the testing room until the bucket is returned to the testing office. That is in your possession. Some people do this different ways, but I'm going to tell you it cannot be on the student. It cannot be at their desk. They are not allowed to have anything at their desk other than their Chromebook and their test ticket. And when in the checklist it says you can provide supplemental aids and scratch paper, that's when you'll do that then. All right, all students will follow a designated lunch schedule and instructions provided by Dr. Hatley. We will add this to the tab for those days. All students have to be in standardized dress, in school dress. Testing students, they will eat a silent lunch. If we will be, I promise we will have, we will be going for a lunch plan. You have a designated time you leave your room. You have a designated time you go, pick up. You have to be on time. It throws everything off if everybody doesn't stay to the schedule. And again, make sure your Google Classrooms are up to date. All right, attendance. This is old hat. We've already talked about it. Here's how you do it. Highlight here, type absent. Assist and leads will take care of attendance for testing rooms online since test administrators will not be on the computer. Test administrators will mark attendance on their paper room roster like we looked at earlier, hand off the tickets of absent students to assist when they are ready to begin testing. Because then what happens is the assist will mark it in the, they will hold it, they'll mark it at 10 or close to 10 because they may be reading late for a kid. We have chronic tardies for children, but we are going to test them when they come in all the way till 10 o'clock. That again is the link for the folder we've already looked at. I just put it in your training materials again. All right, staff assignments. We have talked about when these things would be. It was on slide 1. Just reminding you, here's a list of possible duties. It's included but not limited to. Please note conference times don't really exist on these days, so make plans now to bring your lunch. This says 5 days, there are 4. There's no time to leave campus. There's just work things out as best you can. Some paras as well as all SPED staff and our general office staff will be carrying out their everyday assignments. But we all have to have a modified mindset to be able to carry days like this off. So please, please, please put your best foot forward. And notice up here, even if you think you've already told me, Email me again today. I am trying to organize all the chaos, and if I make a mistake, I'm going to apologize in advance, but I'm doing the best I can to do right by everybody. All right, walking through the manual. Y'all have looked at the manual several times this year. Here's another link to it. There was a link in an earlier slide. Read over these pages. Read over the pages. You're responsible for them. It doesn't take the place of reading the manual. Test administration directions, I would definitely look over those, because when you get to these, see if I can get here pretty quickly. It's still syncing up. All right, let's see. All right, when it says, it tells you read the bold print. For an EB who requests assistance, you are allowed to paraphrase, translate, repeat, or read these directions in the directions that introduce particular test sections. You cannot do anything but directions. Okay, bold type. Please don't attempt the Spanish if you really don't know the language, because that might be more of a hindrance than anything. Stick with English. If the students need extra help, then we can do that way if you are able. All right. This is just a reminder about supports. We got to keep things in place. We saw the accommodation pages. If it has text-to-speech, they have to have headphones. Reminder again, like I said earlier, the supplemental aid for English 1 and English 2, biology and algebra 1. U.S. history does not have one. They teach a foldable, and all their kids can do it because they do it with their scratch paper that is blank when you give it to them. Okay, but English supplemental aids are only allowed during specific parts of the test. Please be aware of this and stay in compliance. That is directly off your checklist. Supplemental aids for biology and algebra 1 can be used for the entire test. All right, irregularities. If it looks weird, if it's wrong or out of compliance, if it seems that way, excuse me, call 27815. Katie Fleener will probably be on the line, and she will assist you and advise you. She will be talking to me. She may even have it on speaker. If at some point you have kids that can't wake up, you can get your assist to help you. If you have continued problems, get the assist to contact Ms. Gary or put it in our group text. If they need an administrator, there should be a radio around leads and we assist. There's somebody should be able to get to one of those, but don't just sit there in silence. We need to do the best we can, and always, 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 as best we can, act with grace and compassion with each other and with our kids, even while we're still ensuring that testing procedures are being followed. All right, here's the checklist. I'm going to do my best not to read every single thing that's on here, but I'm going to show you the link. We've looked at it before. It's right here. I took this and put it on screens broken down by when it happened. All right, so before kids arrive, you're going to pick up the materials. We will open to checkout by 7:45. The goal is 7:30. So as early as 7:30. There's things I keep reiterating because they're probably going to show up on your verification form. Look here, it's already drafted. So there's things that you're just going to be able to do here in just a moment because you paid attention and watched it, but you can still go through your slides if you get stuck. All right, check your testing room thoroughly. Yes, there's been a room check. Yes, somebody was responsible to put things away. Just make sure there is nothing that could help or hinder a kid, that the room is spaced out, nothing is in groups. And guys, here's the deal. If you're filling out the form to say, I'm going to be responsible for my own room, please go ahead. Even if you're responsible for your own room, that's great. Go ahead and have the things covered, even if you're leaving in groups. And also be mindful that you say, some people, I'll just say in general, if you don't have an activity where students are truly depending on each other in that group, it's just a seating arrangement that's convenient, go ahead and switch it out. Go ahead and do that and make it easier on everyone for these few days. That's set aside. Okay, so before students arrive, you're going to put your testing do not disturb sign up, your room log up. Remember, you have to put what role you have. If you're an assist and you're just coming to check on things, you're an assist. But if your assist changes into I'm the break reliever, then you become the testing administrator. Seems a little crazy, but that is how it is. You can place student tickets on their desk. Make sure that the seating chart roughly represents what you've done, and then it is accurately representing what you've done once students start testing. Make sure you've completed that. All right, as they arrive, have the kids turn off their cell phones, AirPods, smartwatches, all the things, all electronic things, and put them in a secure location away from the students and in the care of the testing administrator. Confirm they're turned off. And then Chromebooks, make sure that, like they're going to come in, you're going to tell them, hey, what's your name? Kind of check them in with your paper roster, show them to their seat. Look at that Chromebook. A lot of them, it's their makeshift locker. They have got to empty that stuff out, and the stuff has to go in the, just up here where they're putting all their belongings in a secure location. They can put their stuff at the front of the room, side of the room, wherever you choose, but it has to be away from their testing desk. It doesn't necessarily have to be in your possession with all the electronic devices, but their papers, backpacks, those things need to be at the front or back of the room, away from their desk. All right, once they're seated, have them restart their Chromebook. Everyone, students should not be signed in. They should be in the testing browser, secure testing browser. If you can't work that out, they don't have a Chromebook, they didn't bring one, they're just busted, there's something you can't fix, you can't move them to a charger, fill out your checkout sheet and move on. Get it to your assist and get your computers going. When we're out, we're out. All right, it's a few minutes after as soon as the tardy bell's rung, start working through your checklist again. Remember, students who arrive after testing is officially started, they go to the kiosk, and then they get escorted to the assist. Well, the assists are the ones that are going to be starting them and then bring them to you anyway. All right, so you're working through this process of your checklist. Students in Texas Speech Room have to check their volume, so make sure they're doing that. Again, comes down here, make sure kids are in their seating chart order. Make sure your seating chart is reflecting what that is. Then this is still before you started. It goes real fast, but it's still before you started. Have them open their Chromebooks one more time and look underneath it, around it, no papers. We have no scored a number of kids, even this school year, because this has not been done. All right, then you'll read the electronic use policy. It's in the folder of your roster as well. It's in your checklist. It appears there. Be an encourager to our kids, and at this point, have students look carefully at their tickets again to make sure it's their birthday and their name. All right. And then you read the directions to the manual. We looked at the manual. Make sure you're paying close attention to that. Then there's no supplemental aids for U.S. history. Again, they have that foldable. So the supplemental aids that are in place for these others, hand them when it is designated as instructed that morning. You're going to be reminded. Biology and Algebra 1, you can have them the whole time. English, there is a certain part they can only have on the ECR. So the kid will have to raise their hand to get that supplemental aid. All right. Pick up tickets of students not in attendance. Hand them off to your assist. Once you've started, make sure that you've documented the time everywhere. You've left the online attendance to your assist and the leads, and they will take care of that. And then you actively monitor. Remember, you're documenting times on your seating chart. You're documenting times on your roster, on the start-stop if necessary, on your room log. Make sure you are looking at all of those things. And speaking of, let me get on here real quick. Trying to get there, guys. Give me 1 second. If I can. Well, okay, hang on 1 second. I'm working on it, I promise. Okay, just wanted to look at the room log real quick. This is our updated room log. You put this with your do not disturb on the door. Notice they put their role here. If it's a district person and they're just coming to observe, which they do, they're looking to see you actively monitoring and making sure our kids are on task doing their thing. They're required to observe. They're required to come by. TC would be me. TO is somebody in the testing office. Assist, lead, TA, that goes here. Print, sign, roll. The moment you come in, if you leave, in, leave. If you do this more than 4 times, then you're going to have to start another line. Okay, that is where we are. All right, now if I can get back to my presentation. Okay, so we are in the checklist, continually actively monitoring. We will obviously keep looking at our numbers of students. Once we're in a position to consolidate testers, we will. But as kids finish, they raise their hand, you help them to submit. Okay? Let's pause, come back up here. No materials returned to the testing office prior to 11:30. That's because if you start testing, I think we'll probably change that to 11, because if somebody is testing by 9, a good hour and a half testing, then they have to look over their materials. If all that's been done and you've checked with your assist, come on down and bring them in. But on an English day, I'm telling you, it needs to be a 2-hour minimum before kids submit. You can tell them that. They've got to read the questions. They have to write the ECRs. They have things to respond to, and that cannot be done in under that time, not successfully. Remember to record your times on the roster. It must be on the roster. A lot of people put it on their tickets and flip through, but it has to be on the roster. And then it tells you what goes in separate stacks. Lunch plan, basically follow the plan. Be on time, not early or late. It throws off the schedule. Follow the plan. It's not available yet. It probably won't be available until a couple of days before we test, but it will be a tab. Even if it doesn't populate until that morning, all you have to know is to follow the plan for your room. All right, returning your materials, make sure you follow this and do what it asks. All right, things to remember and revisit. Arrange kids, be flexible. Don't be set on your seating chart, move kids in their plugs, make it work, and then make sure your seating chart looks like what happened in your room when they're testing. Remember to restart computers, clear memory, try everything you can to get the Chromebook working. Make arrangements for a brief lunch. If you're at a bathroom or a hallway, I would arrange a break with your person, other people that are at that same location with you. In testing rooms, you've got to hold those electronic devices until the bucket's cleared, and no one can be back on their Chromebook once they submit it until the bucket is cleared from the testing office. Non-testing, they're going to be working on all kinds of stuff, so make sure your Google Classroom is up to date. Students, this is very important. Remind those early release kids, if we don't move by 2:15, then we'll have to rely on their schedule, but we're hoping we'll send those specific instructions as needed at that time. That should only impact non-testing rooms. Testing rooms are there until the duration we come out of a testing room, period. I can't reiterate again, make sure your Google Classroom's up to date. Revisit the Google Sheet every morning to confirm your staff assignment. Pickup begins at 7:30 with hopes that everybody's in place by 8:05. Don't come late to school on this day. Consider 8 late. Remember, I fully am aware of what 80 looks like in the morning on most days. 6:35 can be a mess too. We're going to do the best that we can, but we're going to try to prepare for being early. All right, so the training needs to be complete by April 1st. You can click here to get to our shared folder. We've looked at it several times. This is if you're going through your slides. I need to take this one little thing out of the slide before I share it with y'all. So if you hear me talk about it and then it's gone, well, here's the deal. No one's watching live recording. I didn't offer it that way. We've had so much with Telpass and everybody's schedules and all the things. This is a recorded training, but please, please, please email questions you have. I can work through those better. If you need to stop by, as long as I'm not testing, come on in. If you have questions, again, reach out. There's my cell phone. You can email me. You can call the office. whatever we need to do, but make sure you've submitted your training by the end of the day, Tuesday, April 1st. That's no April joke. No April Fools here. All right. Thank you for your attention. And once you submit your verification form after watching this and commenting your name on YouTube, you will have completed all of your trainings for 24-25. Congratulations and thank you so much.